There comes a moment in life where you stop loving your hero, not because they turned evil, but because you finally understand them. That moment is exactly what creates Syndrome, because Syndrome isn't just a villain who hates a hero. He's what happens when a hero never realizes how much power his words, his actions, and his silence truly have. At the beginning of The Incredibles, the world loves supers. They're not just protectors, they're celebrities, icons, symbols of a perfect society where danger always loses and justice always arrives on time. Supers don't just exist in this world, they define it. Every rescue ends with applause, every disaster with gratitude. Being a super doesn't just mean saving lives, it means being admired. And into that world steps Buddy Pine. Buddy doesn't have powers, but what he does have is belief. He believes in heroes with a purity that only a child can. He believes that being a hero isn't about what you're born with, but what you choose to do. He believes that effort matters, that courage matters, that intelligence matters. But he doesn't want fame, he wants meaning. He wants to belong in a world that seems to value strength above all else. And here's the tragedy that defines the entire movie. Buddy is right, but Mr. Incredible never sees that. When Bob tells Buddy, "I work alone," it isn't cruelty, it's practicality, it's responsibility. Bob understands danger. He understands that this job kills people. He doesn't want a kid anywhere near it. But what Bob fails to understand is that heroes don't just save people, they shape them. Bob never acknowledges Buddy's intelligence, never respects his courage, never explains why this world is dangerous. He doesn't teach Buddy anything, he just shuts the door. And that silence teaches Buddy a devastating lesson. That effort doesn't matter, only power does. When Bomb Voyage throws the bomb and everything spirals out of control, the consequences are immediate and brutal. The city doesn't see heroism anymore, it sees damage. Lawsuits pile up, public opinion turns, the government panics, supers are outlawed almost overnight. Heroes who once defined society are now treated like liabilities that need to be erased. Bob loses his glory days, his purpose, his identity. But Buddy loses something far worse.
I only wanted to help, and what did you say to me?
Fly home, buddy. I work alone.
It tore me apart.
He loses faith. Faith in heroes. Faith in fairness. Faith that doing the right thing actually means anything. And instead of letting that wound heal, Buddy lets it define him. He doesn't just reject heroes, he rewrites them. In his mind, supers aren't noble protectors, they're selfish gatekeepers. A closed club that decides who's allowed to matter and who isn't. And if power is what the world respects, then power doesn't need to be inherited, it can be built. Bought, controlled, that's where Buddy dies, and Syndrome is born. What makes Syndrome unsettling isn't that he forgets the past, it's that he remembers it perfectly. To Bob, those days are embarrassing memories he'd rather forget. To Syndrome, they never ended. He remembers the poses, the catchphrases, the applause, not because they inspired him, but because they became proof of what he was denied. Bob barely remembers Buddy at all, and that hurts more than the rejection ever did, because Syndrome doesn't just want revenge, he wants recognition. Being a hero, to him, was never about saving people. It was about being seen, being remembered. That's why he needs an audience, why he monologues, why he screams his name. If nobody remembers you, then to Syndrome, you never mattered. This obsession doesn't fade with time, it sharpens. Syndrome grows up and becomes exactly what he once admired, larger than life. Except now, it's artificial, built through technology instead of character. He turns his genius inward, selling weapons, funding his Iowan, constructing an empire of control. On paper, Syndrome is one of the smartest people in the world. His technology rivals superpowers. In another life, he could have been a savior, but that life would require letting go. Then comes Kronos. This is the moment The Incredibles quietly becomes one of the darkest films Pixar has ever made. Syndrome didn't just fight supers, he hunted them. Every Omnidroid wasn't just a weapon, it was an experiment. Each super was lured to the island, studied, tested, and erased. Not in anger, not in chaos, but in cold calculation. To Syndrome, these weren't people, they were variables. Heroes who once stood beside Bob at his wedding become nothing more than data points used to perfect a machine. And that's what truly separates Syndrome from most animated villains. He isn't driven by madness, he's driven by certainty. The certainty that he's right, and that everyone else is expendable. And all of it leads back to one line.
Everyone can be super. And when everyone's super, no one will be.
It sounds fair, almost noble, like equality, like progress. But it's not about lifting people up, it's about dragging heroes down. Syndrome doesn't want a world without hierarchy. He wants a world where Mr. Incredible isn't special anymore. He doesn't remove power, he commodifies it, sells it, profits from it, controls it, and in doing so, he becomes exactly what he claims to hate. He calls supers arrogant, yet builds his entire identity around admiration. He despises heroes, yet desperately wants to be one. He mocks Bob's pride, only to become far more prideful himself. And here's the most important contrast in the film. Bob gets a second chance. Bob's obsession with the past nearly cost him his family, but it also humbles him. He realizes that being a hero was never about applause. It was about responsibility, about presence, about protecting the people who depend on you, not the image of who you used to be. Syndrome never reaches that realization. His obsession tightens. His ego blinds him. His genius folds inward and turns toxic. He stops seeing people altogether. Even Mirage becomes disposable. Even children become collateral. Syndrome believes respect can only come from fear because fear is the only thing that never rejected him. That's why his end is perfect. He dies because of his cape. Not just as a joke, but as a statement. The cape represents everything Syndrome cared about. Spectacle, image, recognition. The thing meant to make him stand out is what kills him. Just like the Omnidroid, he's destroyed by his own creation. His intelligence wasn't his downfall. His motivation was. Syndrome could have been one of the greatest minds in the world. He could have changed everything. He had the resources, the talent, the opportunity, but he chose to let rejection define him. He chose validation over meaning, and that choice made him a villain long before he ever put on the suit. That's why Syndrome works. He isn't evil because the story needs a bad guy. He's evil because nobody guided him when it mattered, and because he refused to let go when it was time. And that's why, even 2 decades later, Syndrome still feels uncomfortably real. Not as a monster, but as a warning.